Kiel, 10th of December, 1936. A draftsman's pencil moves across blueprint paper in the Naval Construction Office. The Type 7A hull lines take shape, 67 meters of pressure hull, 750 tons surface displacement. In the margins, compartment allocations, 44 crew, 26 bunks. The design prioritizes torpedoes, batteries, and fuel. Living space is an afterthought. Outside, snow falls on the Germania Werft shipyard. Radio broadcasts speak of rebuilding Germany's submarine fleet. Naval architects believe these boats will patrol for 1 week, perhaps 10 days. They calculate battery endurance, reload times, and fuel consumption. What they do not calculate is this: within 3 years, average patrol duration will triple. The bunks will not. Commanders expect short coastal missions. Reality will demand 2 months at sea, submerged for days, hunting in waters patrolled by aircraft that never sleep. The arithmetic is already written in these blueprints. It simply has not yet been revealed. Kiel, 10th of December, 1936. Naval Construction Office. The technical drawing shows precise compartment divisions. Type 7A measures 66.5 meters in length. Surface displacement, 753 tons. Submerged, 857 tons. The design team at Germania Werft works under pre-war assumptions. Submarine patrols will last 5 to 7 days. Crew complement, 44 men. Berthing allocations, 24 to 28 bunks. The mathematics seems reasonable. 4-hour watch rotations mean 1/3 of the crew is always on duty. 2 men can share 1 bunk, hot bunking the practice is called. 1 sailor sleeps while another stands watch. When watches change, they swap places. In theory, every man gets rest. In practice, the theory holds only if patrols remain short and surface time remains abundant. The construction SAMT, the construction office, prioritizes weapons and machinery. Forward torpedo room, 4 tubes, plus reload racks consuming vertical and horizontal space. Aft torpedo room, 1 tube, more reloads. Battery banks fill compartments below the deck plates. Diesel engines dominate the engineering spaces. Fuel bunkers line the outer hull. Every cubic meter has a purpose. Crew accommodation receives what remains. Early construction memos note berthing density. Approximately 0.57 bunks per man. A bunk measures 1.75 to 1.8 meters, barely 6 feet. Many sailors must sleep curled. Some sleep in bow compartments, wedged between torpedo reload racks. Others sleep beside machinery, where heat and noise make rest difficult. The designers know this. They assume discipline and short patrols will compensate. Flotilla training notes describe the 4-hour watch rhythm. Each man stands 4 hours on, 8 hours off. During the 8 hours off, 4 hours are for eating, maintenance, and personal tasks. 4 hours remain for sleep. The system depends on predictability. It depends on staying surfaced long enough to ventilate compartments, to air bedding, to maintain routine. It depends on the enemy not changing the rules. Within 3 years, the enemy will change every rule. Patrol durations will stretch to 6 weeks, then 8, then 10. Air cover will deny surface time. Crash dives will fragment rest into 15-minute intervals. The bunk count will remain fixed. The design that wins early victories will become its own cage. Berlin, 25th of August, 1939. BDU Headquarters. Admiral Karl Donitz commands the Befehlshaber der Unterseeboot, BDU, the U-boat command. On his staff officer's desk lies a typed circular, Watch Organization and Housekeeping Regulations. The document codifies the 4-hour schedule. It assigns bunks by number. It prescribes linen control, 1 issue per patrol, tagged and tracked. It orders regular airing of bedding. The regulations assume normal operations. Boats will run surfaced at night, charging batteries and ventilating compartments. Diesel exhaust will be replaced by fresh air. Condensation will be wiped from frames and pipes. Bedding will dry in the breeze. Men will sleep in predictable shifts. The galley and torpedo rooms will serve their primary functions, with sleeping as a secondary role only during the intervals between meals and torpedo maintenance. Flotilla commanders receive the circulars and implement them. Discipline becomes the answer to limited space. Cleanliness becomes a moral issue. Submariners are taught to tolerate discomfort as a mark of professionalism. The regulations mention nothing about what happens when surface time vanishes. When Allied air patrols force boats to remain submerged for 18, 20, 24 hours at a stretch. When condensation never dries. When the only ventilation comes from manual hand pumps that themselves consume the oxygen they are meant to conserve. A note in the margins of flotilla hygiene reports acknowledges reality. Airing may prove impracticable when operationally threatened. The note is prophetic. By 1941, airing becomes not impracticable but impossible. Boats spend days submerged. Bedding remains damp. Frames drip constantly. The smell of diesel, unwashed bodies, and mildew becomes inescapable. The regulations do not change. The boats do not gain bunks. Doctrine hardens into ritual, and ritual offers no solution to missing sleep. By 1941, internal BDU notes will acknowledge reduced vigilance during extended patrols. Reaction times slow. Decision-making degrades. Doctrine remains unchanged. The assumption persists. German discipline will overcome material deficiency. It will not. Wilhelmshaven, 18th of May, 1940. Crew assembly and training. The medical officer holds a clipboard. Height and weight checks proceed down the line. New crew members receive bunk tags. Metal discs stamped with numbers. The boat's chief petty officer explains the rotation. For on, 8 off. Share your bunk. Keep it clean. Stow personal items in the locker beneath. Do not leave anything loose. In heavy weather or during crash dives, loose items become projectiles. The medical officer notes dimensions. Bunks, 1.75 to 1.8 meters. Many recruits are taller. They will sleep with knees bent or feet protruding into passageways. Some will sleep in the bow compartments, where torpedo reload racks offer horizontal surfaces. These are not beds. They are padded boards. Men sleep there because there is nowhere else. Training emphasizes sleep discipline. Learn to sleep in short segments. Learn to sleep through noise, diesel engines, electric motors, depth charge detonations, shouted orders. Learn to wake instantly when the alarm sounds. The training assumes that men can adapt. Most can for a time. Physiological limits remain. Heat stress becomes apparent during the first submerged drills. Diesel engines, even shut down, radiate stored heat. Battery banks generate heat during discharge and especially during charging. The human body generates heat, 50 to 52 men in an enclosed pressure hull. External seawater provides some cooling, but only while submerged and moving. During silent running, when the boat lies motionless on the bottom, internal temperature climbs into the low 30s Celsius. Humidity approaches 90% or higher. Condensation forms on every metal surface. It drips onto bunks, onto men, onto machinery. The medical officer writes, expect elevated core temperature during prolonged submersion. Expect dehydration despite water rationing. Expect disrupted circadian rhythm. He does not write. Expect this to worsen as the war continues. He does not yet know. A celebrated early war patrol returns to Wilhelmshaven. The boat's war diary, Kriegstagebuch or KTB, notes that 1/3 of the crew missed a full sleep cycle for more than 36 hours. The patrol is deemed a success. Tonnage sunk, 12,000 tons. Crew condition, degraded but functional. The pattern is set. Success will be measured in enemy ships destroyed, not in crew endurance maintained. The cost will come later. The design wins early victories. Short patrols in the North Sea and western approaches allow frequent returns to base. Crews rest ashore. Boats are cleaned and aired. The system works. Then the war expands. Routes lengthen. Allied air cover expands. The boats must go deeper, stay longer, surface less. The design does not change. The arithmetic of sleep begins its slow catastrophe. North Atlantic, 12th of February, 1941. Mid-patrol. A petty officer wipes condensate from a bunk frame with a rag. The rag is already soaked. He wrings it into a bucket and wipes again. The metal pipe is cold. The air is warm. Physics dictates condensation. There is no solution, only management. He finishes and lies down. The bunk is damp. Everything is damp. He closes his eyes. The klaxon sounds. Alarm. Aircraft sighted. Crash dive. The petty officer rolls from his bunk and moves toward his station. Around him, 40 other men do the same. Some were sleeping. Some were eating. Some were performing maintenance. All movement ceases except the choreographed ballet of diving. Vents open. Ballast floods. The bow angles down. Depth. 20 meters. 30. 40. The boat levels off at 50 meters. Silence. The order is passed in whispers. Silent running. The 4-hour watch rotation collapses under operational reality. Crash dives occur without warning. Rest periods fracture into fragments, 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there. A man lies down. 10 minutes later, the alarm sounds. He returns to his station. He does not return to sleep. The body cannot restart its sleep cycle for 5-6 times in a watch. Fatigue accumulates. Reaction times lengthen. Errors creep in. U-96's KTB records typical conditions. Bunks wet. Air thick. Drip from frames continuous. The entry is matter of fact. This is normal. Temperature in the pressure hull, 32 degrees Celsius. Humidity, 95%. Carbon dioxide levels rise during extended submergence. The boat carries potash cartridges for CO2 scrubbing, but they are limited. Fresh air comes only from surfacing or snorkeling. Both expose the boat to aircraft. The choice is between breathable air and survival. Survival wins. The crew breathes the thick, stale atmosphere and suffers. Silent running means no machinery beyond the bare minimum. No ventilation fans. No pumps unless absolutely necessary. Heat builds. Men remove shirts. They breathe shallowly, conserving oxygen. Conversations occur in whispers. Movement is minimized. A sailor shifts position, and his wet clothing squelches audibly. He freezes, suddenly aware that any sound might betray the boat. The enemy destroyer above hunts with hydrophones. Silence is armor. Hours pass. The destroyer moves away. The boat rises to periscope depth. The commander scans the horizon. No aircraft. No ships. The order is given. Surface. Vents blow. The boat breaks surface. Diesels fire. Batteries begin charging. Ventilation fans start. Hatches crack open. Fresh air rushes in, cold and clean and impossibly sweet. Men gulp it like water. The boat runs surfaced for 1 hour, then 2. Charging continues. The watch rotates. Men return to their damp bunks and sleep in the intervals between alarms. The patrol enters its 3rd week. Sleep deprivation becomes measurable. The boat's chief engineer notes delayed responses during equipment drills. A valve exercise that should take 2 minutes now takes 3. A battery check that should take 15 minutes stretches to 22. The delays are small individually. Cumulatively, they add minutes to every evolution. Minutes matter when survival depends on speed. The patrol report later notes, repeated interrupted sleep. Rest windows reduced to minutes. Vigilance degraded after 14 days. Engineering notes measure delayed reaction times in drills after 2 weeks at sea. Fatigue is no longer anecdotal. It is quantifiable. It is predictable. It is ignored. Medical research conducted after the war will quantify what these men experience. Sleep deprivation degrades cognitive function by 20 to 30% after 72 hours of restricted sleep. After 2 weeks of fragmented sleep, performance degrades to levels equivalent to legal intoxication. The submariners do not know these statistics. They know only that thinking becomes harder, that movements become slower, that the simplest tasks require conscious effort. Bergen, 4th of November, 1941. Flotilla turnaround. A staff officer stands before a chalkboard. He has written berthing ratios. The numbers tell a story. German Type 7C, 52 men, 30 bunks. Ratio, 0.58 bunks per man. United States Navy Gato class, 80 crew, 77 bunks. Ratio, 0.96 bunks per man. British T-class, 61 crew, 57 bunks. Ratio, 0.93 bunks per man. The staff officer obtained the Allied data from technical intelligence handbooks. Some information comes from captured documents. Some comes from pre-war naval attaché reports. Some comes from neutral sources. After the war, more complete data will emerge from technical exchanges. The pattern is clear now. Allied navies approach one-to-one berthing. Every man or nearly every man has a bunk of his own. The Germans prioritize torpedoes and batteries. The Allies prioritize rest. The comparison extends beyond bunks. The United States fleet boats include air conditioning. Not luxury air conditioning, but functional climate control. Internal temperature can be maintained at 22 to 24 degrees Celsius even in tropical waters. Humidity is controlled. Condensation is minimized. The system runs continuously, powered by the main electrical bus. The cost in power is acceptable because the benefit in crew performance is measurable. Refrigeration allows storage of fresh food for 60-day patrols or longer. American submariners eat fresh vegetables for the first 3 weeks at sea. They eat frozen meat for the duration. Bread is baked daily in electric ovens. Coffee is available continuously. The diet is monotonous but adequate. German submariners eat canned food and dry rations. Fresh food spoils within days in the humid heat. Bread molds. Meat rots. By the 3rd week, everything tastes the same, stale and metallic. Ventilation systems on Allied boats scrub air continuously. Fans circulate atmosphere even when submerged. Carbon dioxide is removed chemically, and oxygen is replenished from compressed tanks. The air never becomes as foul as in German boats. British T-class submarines include similar systems. Fans are retrofitted to earlier boats. The British learn the same lesson as the Americans. Breathable air is operational capability. Freshwater capacity differs dramatically. American fleet boats carry sufficient water for rationed but regular showers. Every man showers at least once per week, more often if water production allows. German boats ration water severely. Showers are impossible. Men wipe themselves with alcohol-dampened rags or saltwater soap that never rinses clean. Saltwater residue causes rashes. The rashes become infected in the humid environment. Infections spread. The staff officer's notes compare patrol endurance. Allied boats sustain longer patrols with less crew degradation. American submarines regularly patrol for 60 days. British boats patrol for similar durations. German boats begin showing crew degradation after 30 days. By 45 days, effectiveness is measurably reduced. By 60 days, crews are on the edge of collapse. Statistics support the observations. Allied submarines complete more patrols per boat. They engage more contacts per patrol. They fire more torpedoes with higher accuracy. They sustain combat operations longer. Some of this is tactical. Some is technological. Much is habitability. Rested crews make better decisions. They react faster. They aim more accurately. They maintain equipment more reliably. German boats return with exhausted crews. Maintenance errors increase late in patrols. Contact decisions slow. Some boats are lost not to enemy action but to operational errors, collisions, groundings, friendly fire. Post-war analysis will attribute a portion of these losses to crew fatigue. The staff officer writes a memo. He suggests increasing bunk counts in future designs. He receives a reply. Future designs will be addressed. Current boats cannot be modified. The torpedo and battery space cannot be sacrificed. Crews will adapt. They do not adapt. They endure. Endurance has limits. The limits are being reached. Atlantic, 9th of April, 1942. After action maintenance window, the torpedo room chief inspects a valve. It controls compressed airflow to the firing mechanism. The setting is incorrect. Not dangerously so, but incorrect. He adjusts it. He makes a note in his log. Valve misset during reload. Corrected on second check. Crew fatigue suspected. The note is one of many. Small errors accumulate throughout the patrol. A fuse warmer connection is left loose. It shorts during a dive. The circuit breaker trips. The warmer must be reset manually. Time lost, 12 minutes. In combat, 12 minutes can mean the difference between firing position and losing contact. The error is traced to incomplete maintenance during the previous watch. The responsible sailor is questioned. He remembers performing the task. He does not remember completing it. He was interrupted by an alarm. He returned to his station. He forgot to finish. He is not disciplined. Everyone understands. Everyone has made similar mistakes. A fuel valve is closed one turn too many. The diesel draws air instead of fuel and stalls during startup. The engine room erupts in controlled chaos. The chief engineer diagnoses the problem. He opens the valve. The engine restarts. Time to diagnose and correct, 18 minutes. Battery power is consumed running the electric motors during the delay. The margin of battery reserve narrows. Later in the patrol, this margin may matter. The valve setting was incorrect because the petty officer who closed it was working on 3 hours of sleep. A trim pump is left running longer than necessary. The boat takes on excess ballast. The dive angle becomes steeper than intended. The diving officer compensates, blowing ballast to restore trim. The correction works, but it wastes compressed air. Compressed air is manufactured by running diesel-powered compressors. Compressors consume fuel. Fuel is finite. Every wasted evolution reduces endurance. The pump ran too long because the sailor monitoring it dozed at his station for 30 seconds. He woke. He corrected the error. He reported nothing. No one saw. Or if they saw, they said nothing. Everyone is doing the same. Training assumes error-free maintenance. Reality assumes fatigue. The two cannot coexist. The chief writes his reports. Flotilla staff review them. Medical officers note the pattern. Errors cluster during the 0400 to 0800 watch. The watch after midnight, before dawn. The human circadian rhythm reaches its lowest ebb. Alertness drops. Reaction times slow. Mistakes happen. Research on circadian rhythms explains what the crews experience. Human alertness follows a predictable cycle. Peak performance occurs mid-morning and early evening. Lowest performance occurs between 0200 and 0600. This is biology, not psychology. The body's core temperature drops. Reaction time slows. Attention wavers. Errors multiply. The 4-hour watch system places men on duty during their physiological nadir. Fatigue compounds the effect. After 2 weeks of fragmented sleep, the circadian low becomes a performance disaster. Prisoner of war interrogations of captured U-boat crews reveal the pattern. Allied intelligence officers ask about rest. The prisoners describe the reality. Hot bunking works in theory. In practice, the man coming off watch is wired, adrenaline-charged, unable to sleep immediately. The man awakened for his watch is groggy, disoriented, slow. The 8-hour rest period includes eating, personal hygiene, equipment maintenance, and attempts at actual sleep. Actual sleep, 4 to 5 hours, if uninterrupted. Usually interrupted. One captured officer describes a patrol's final week. More than 40 hours awake before the last engagement. We saw the convoy. We maneuvered for position. The attack developed too slowly. By the time we fired, the escorts were upon us. We dove. We survived. Barely, the interrogator notes. Subject attributes poor tactical execution to crew exhaustion. The report circulates through Allied anti-submarine warfare commands. It confirms what Allied submariners already know. Fatigue kills effectiveness. Fatigue becomes a recorded factor in after-action reports. It is analyzed. It is discussed. Recommendations are made. Nothing changes. The boats do not gain bunks. The patrols do not shorten. The doctrine does not adapt. The arithmetic remains unchanged. The war continues. Bay of Biscay, 21st of September, 1942. Return transit. Linen bags hang in the forward torpedo room. Each bag is tagged with a crew member's name and serial number. The bags will be taken ashore and sent to the flotilla laundry. Industrial washing, high-temperature sterilization, return within 48 hours. The system works when boats return every week. It fails when boats are at sea for 2 months. The linen inside the bags is gray-green with mildew. It smells of diesel, sweat, and decay. The smell is so pervasive that crew members no longer notice it. Only upon reaching port, when they encounter fresh air and clean clothing, do they realize how they smell. Civilians turn away. Dockyard workers keep their distance. The submariners do not care. They are going home. They will shower. They will sleep in real beds. They will eat food that does not come from cans. For now, the smell is irrelevant. The medical officer marks his clipboard. He records skin conditions, fungal infections, rashes, foot rot, respiratory complaints, persistent cough, congestion, sinus issues. The cause is clear: humidity, lack of fresh air, inability to wash clothing or bedding. The boat carries limited fresh water. Evaporators produce water from seawater, but evaporators are powered by electricity or diesel heat. Both are prioritized for propulsion and battery charging. Water for washing is rationed severely. Most men do not shower for the entire patrol. They wipe themselves with alcohol-dampened rags. The alcohol is medicinal, not beverage. It evaporates quickly, leaving skin temporarily clean but always returning to the same damp environment. Bedding cannot be properly aired. Doctrine requires airing, but doctrine assumes surface time. Surface time is denied by Allied aircraft. The Bay of Biscay is especially dangerous. British Coastal Command flies continuous patrols. Aircraft equipped with radar can detect a surfaced U-boat at night. The boat runs submerged by day, surfaces briefly at night. Charging takes priority. Ventilation is secondary. Airing bedding is impossible. The bedding remains damp. Mold grows. Fungal spores multiply. Men breathe them continuously. Skin infections spread through shared bunks. Hot bunking means 2 men share one sleeping surface. If one man has a fungal infection, the other will soon have it as well. The infection rate approaches 70% by the 6th week of patrol. Athlete's foot is universal. Body rashes are common. Some men develop persistent boils. The medical officer treats what he can with limited supplies. Antifungal powder, antibiotic ointment, iodine for open sores. The treatments are palliative, not curative. The environment negates treatment. A rash may heal temporarily, but it returns within days in the humid conditions. Respiratory infections spread similarly. Men share air in an enclosed space. One man catches a cold. Within a week, half the crew has it. Coughing echoes through the pressure hull. The sound is constant, day and night. Some men develop bronchitis. A few develop pneumonia. The medical officer has no antibiotics. Penicillin exists, but it is not available to submariners. He has aspirin for fever and codeine for cough. The men endure. Some recover. Some do not. Those who do not are sent to shore hospitals upon return. They do not return to sea for months. The medical officer's report lists non-combat attrition: 3 men unable to stand watch due to respiratory infection, 2 men with severe fungal foot infections requiring shore treatment, 1 man with a persistent abscess requiring minor surgery after return, 1 man with suspected pneumonia requiring hospitalization. The patrol is counted as successful. 7 ships sunk, 1 damaged. Tonnage, 38,000 tons. Crew health, degraded. The trade-off seems acceptable. It is not. Health issues reduce alertness. Reduced alertness increases error rates. Error rates increase loss rates. The chain is long, but it is direct. A man with a fever cannot think clearly. A man with a persistent cough cannot maintain silence during silent running. A man with infected feet cannot move quickly during a crash dive. Each health issue degrades combat capability. The degradation is small individually. Cumulatively, it is significant. Flotilla inspection notes upon return list unfit bedding and recurring infections. The flotilla commander recommends increased freshwater allocation for personal hygiene. The recommendation is noted. It is not implemented. Fresh water requires evaporator capacity. Evaporator capacity requires power. Power is needed elsewhere. The crew will manage. They always do, until they do not. St. Nazaire, 3rd of March, 1943, Skippers Conference. Experienced commanders gather. The conference is informal. No official minutes are taken. Men speak freely. Eric Topp, Otto Kretschmer's successor as tonnage leader, describes his boat's adaptations. He has authorized hammocks strung above torpedo reload racks. The hammocks are not official issue. They are improvised. The crew made them from spare canvas and rope. Regulations forbid unofficial modifications. Top ignores regulations. His crew needs rest more than they need compliance. The hammocks provide additional sleeping spaces. Not many, 3, perhaps 4. But 3 bunks for a crew of 52 is a 7% increase in capacity. 7% matters. The men who sleep in hammocks sleep better than men wedged onto torpedo racks. The hammocks sway gently with the boat's motion. The motion is soothing. Some men prefer the hammocks to the official bunks. Top notes improved morale. He notes fewer maintenance errors. He notes faster reaction times during drills. The correlation seems clear. More sleep produces better performance. Another commander describes rotating men through the forward torpedo room for brief periods near the hatch. The hatch is sealed, but it is the closest point to the outside world. Men smell fresh air through microscopic gaps. They glimpse daylight through the periscope lens when the boat is at periscope depth. Psychological relief is small but real. The human mind requires stimulation. Monotony degrades morale as surely as fatigue degrades performance. A few minutes near the hatch, seeing light, smelling air that does not reek of diesel, this breaks the monotony.
Morale improves marginally.
Marginal improvements matter when morale is collapsing. A third commander has instituted quiet hours during these hours. Unless the boat is at action stations, all unnecessary activity ceases. No maintenance unless critical. No conversation above a whisper. No movement except to and from watch stations. Men sleep or rest silently. The policy violates official procedures that mandate continuous maintenance. The commander justifies it. A rested crew makes fewer errors than a busy, exhausted crew. His boat's error rate supports the claim. Equipment reliability improves because maintenance performed by rested men is performed correctly. Equipment worked on by exhausted men requires rework. Rework wastes time and materials. The flotilla staff attend the conference. They listen. They understand the problem. They cannot solve it. The Type 7 hull is fixed. Adding bunks requires removing something else. Torpedoes? Unacceptable. Loss of firepower reduces combat effectiveness more than lack of sleep. Or so the calculations suggest. Batteries? The boat cannot function without battery capacity. Submerged operations depend on electrical power. Reducing battery capacity reduces submerged endurance. That invites destruction. Fuel? Range would drop. Shorter range means boats must operate closer to bases. That concentrates them in areas where Allied anti-submarine forces concentrate. Food? Patrols would shorten. Shorter patrols mean less time on station. Less time on station means fewer contacts. Fewer contacts mean less tonnage sunk. Every cubic meter is spoken for. The only solution is shorter patrols or fewer men. Shorter patrols mean less operational time per boat per year. The U-boat arm needs more operational time, not less. Tonnage sunk per boat month is the critical metric. Shorter patrols degrade this metric. Fewer men mean watches cannot be maintained. The 4-hour rotation requires enough personnel to staff all stations continuously. Reducing crew size below the minimum breaks the system. There is no solution within the existing design. The Type 7 is optimized for short patrols and coastal operations. The war demands long patrols and deep ocean operations. The boat cannot adapt. The crews must compensate. They cannot. Not indefinitely. Requests for additional bunks accumulate in flotilla files. Approvals do not come. BDU acknowledges the issue. BDU prioritizes batteries and torpedoes. Space belongs to weapons, not to sleep. The assumption remains, discipline compensates for discomfort. Discipline does not compensate for exhaustion. Exhaustion is not a morale failure. It is a biological reality. Biology cannot be disciplined away. The conference ends. Commanders return to their boats. Hammocks remain strung. Quiet hours continue unofficially. Crews sleep when they can, where they can. The improvements are marginal. Marginal is better than nothing. The war continues. North Atlantic, 7th of October, 1943. Extended patrol track. The navigator's chart shows the boat's track. It extends farther west than previous patrols. The pencil line crosses meridians that previous patrols never reached. Allied air cover has expanded. Coastal command aircraft range farther. Escort carriers accompany convoys. Air patrols are continuous. Convoys route around known U-boat concentrations. To find targets, boats must go deeper into the Atlantic. Deeper means longer transit. Longer transit means more fuel consumption. More fuel consumption means less time on station. Less time on station means more pressure to make every contact count. A crewman sleeps beside a loaded torpedo tube. His assigned bunk is occupied by someone else. He cannot wake the other man. Regulations forbid it. The bunk rotation is sacred. To break it invites chaos. He finds a horizontal surface and sleeps there. The surface is the deck between two torpedo tubes. It is cold, hard, and damp. A thin mat provides minimal padding. He lies down. He falls asleep within seconds. Sleep comes anywhere, anytime, in any position, when exhaustion becomes absolute. The patrol is now in its 7th week. 50 days at sea. 42 days since leaving the Bay of Biscay. Longer routes and constant air threat force the boat to remain submerged 18 to 20 hours per day. The 4-hour watch rotation compresses. Not officially, the schedule remains unchanged on paper. But in practice, rest periods evaporate. Men nap in stolen minutes. A sailor sits at his station during silent running. His head nods. He jerks awake. He has been asleep for 30 seconds, perhaps a minute. He does not know. He looks around. No one noticed. Or if they noticed, they said nothing. Everyone is doing the same. The boat's executive officer walks through the compartments during his rounds. He counts sleeping men. He should count 17, 1/3 of the crew off watch. He counts 21. For men are sleeping on duty. Not at critical stations, those remain manned. But men are sleeping at secondary positions. A machinist sleeps at his workbench. An electrician sleeps in the motor room. A radioman sleeps at his inactive set. The executive officer says nothing. He notes it in his log. He does not discipline the men. What would be the point? They need sleep more than they need discipline. BDU staff summaries note slower response times during alarms late in patrols. The data comes from boat logs. Early patrol average crash dive time, 35 to 40 seconds from surface to 50 meters. Late patrol average, 50 to 60 seconds. The difference is 15 to 20 seconds. In combat, 15 seconds decides survival. A destroyer's depth charges are set to detonate at predetermined depths. If the boat dives fast enough, it passes below the detonation zone before the charges arrive. If the boat dives slowly, it remains in the kill zone. Slow responses kill boats. The slower responses are not due to equipment failure. The machinery functions as designed. The delays are human. Men move more slowly when exhausted. Orders are acknowledged more slowly. Actions are performed more slowly. Precision drops. A sailor opens the wrong valve. He corrects it immediately, but the error costs 3 seconds. Another sailor forgets to close a vent. The diving officer catches it and orders correction. Time lost, 5 seconds. Small errors. Cumulative effect. Lethal. Boat logs record incidents. A fuse heater shorts from condensation. A valve sticks due to corrosion. A pump fails because maintenance was delayed. Each incident is small. Each is attributable to fatigue. The fuse heater shorted because the sailor who maintained it did not notice moisture accumulation. He did not notice because he was exhausted. The valve stuck because lubrication was skipped during a maintenance cycle. Lubrication was skipped because the responsible sailor fell asleep before completing his checklist. The pump failed because a seal was improperly installed. The installation error occurred during the 4th week, when crew performance began measurable degradation. Carbon dioxide levels spike more frequently during deep submergence. The boat's CO2 scrubbers are exhausted faster. Potash cartridges absorb carbon dioxide chemically. The reaction has limits. When the cartridge is saturated, it stops working. The boat carries a finite supply. Early in the patrol, cartridges last 12 hours. Late in the patrol, they last 8. The crew breathes harder in the thick air. Thick air contains less oxygen. The body compensates by breathing faster and deeper. Faster. Deeper breathing consumes oxygen faster and produces carbon dioxide faster. The scrubbers saturate faster. The cycle is self-reinforcing. Deep submergence worsens habitability. Habitability worsens physiological stress. Physiological stress worsens deep submergence endurance. The only escape is surfacing. Surfacing is death when aircraft patrol overhead. The choice is stark. Surface and risk destruction by aircraft. Remain submerged and risk destruction by carbon dioxide poisoning or crew collapse. Most commanders choose submergence. Better to control the risk than to expose the boat to certain attack. The crew suffers. The crew endures. Until they cannot. The U-boat arm begins losing boats faster than crews can be trained. September 1943, 25 boats lost. October, 26 boats lost. November, 19 boats lost. The losses are attributed to improved Allied anti-submarine warfare, better radar, better sonar, better depth charges, more aircraft, more escorts, escort carriers, hunter-killer groups, coordinated tactics. All true, but another factor is present and unmeasured. German crews are physically present but functionally slower. Late patrol degradation coincides with higher loss rates. Exhausted crews make errors. Errors are fatal. Post-war analysis will attempt to quantify the contribution of crew fatigue to U-boat losses. The analysis is difficult. Fatigue is not listed as a cause of sinking. The official cause is always enemy action. But when a boat is caught on the surface, when it dives too slowly, when it fails to detect an approaching destroyer, when it makes a tactical error, fatigue is often the underlying cause. Estimates suggest that 10 to 15% of U-boat losses may be partially attributable to crew degradation. 10% of 700 losses is 70 boats. 70 boats is 3,500 men. The number is speculation, but the principle is sound. Exhaustion kills. The patrol enters its 9th week. 63 days at sea. The boat has traveled farther, stayed longer, and found less than patrols 1 year earlier. The arithmetic of the war has shifted. Convoys are better protected. Air cover is omnipresent. Radar detects surfaced boats at night. Sonar detects submerged boats during silent running. Depth charges sink boats faster. Escorts are more numerous. The odds have reversed. Germany is losing. The crews know it. They do not speak it. They perform their duties. They stand their watches. They maintain their equipment. They do it all more slowly, with less precision, with mounting dread. The boat turns for home. The return transit will take 2 weeks. 2 more weeks of damp bunks, of interrupted sleep, of crash dives, of silent running, of stale air and fear. Then port. Then rest. If they survive. The odds are no longer in their favor. La Rochelle, 19th of January, 1944. Flotilla Medical Board. The flotilla medical officer reviews a stack of referral forms. Each form represents a crew member removed from sea duty for medical reasons. The reasons vary: respiratory infection requiring extended hospitalization, persistent fungal infection resistant to treatment, exhaustion. The medical term is operational fatigue, stress reaction. The modern term is post-traumatic stress disorder. The forms pile up. The medical officer stamps each one. The stamp reads, temporarily unfit for sea duty. The recommended rest period varies. 2 months for minor cases, 6 months for severe cases, indefinite for the worst. Some men never return to sea. They are reassigned to shore stations, to training roles, to administrative duties. The reassignments are presented as promotions or specialized assignments. They are not. They are medical discharges disguised as transfers. The men are not cowards. They are not malingerers. They are exhausted humans who have reached biological limits. Early in the war, psychiatric removals were rare. Submariners were volunteers. Selection was rigorous. Physical standards were high. Psychological screening was thorough. Mental resilience was assumed. The assumption was reasonable. Volunteers are self-selected for stress tolerance. Training weeds out those who cannot adapt. The men who pass are capable, but capability has limits. Resilience erodes under sustained stress. By 1944, the erosion is measurable. Statistics tell the story. 1940, psychiatric removals less than 1% of crews. 1941, 1.5%. 1942, 2.8%. 1943, 4.3%. 1944, 6.7%. The trend is exponential. If the war continues, the percentage will continue rising. By 1945, some flotillas approach 10% psychiatric removal rates. 1 man in 10 breaks, not from cowardice, from exhaustion. Non-combat medical removals follow a similar trend. Respiratory infections, fungal infections, stress-related illnesses, gastrointestinal disorders, weight loss, vitamin deficiencies. Early war, 3% non-combat medical attrition. Late war, 9%. The human body has limits. The limits are being exceeded. Men lose weight despite adequate caloric intake. Stress burns calories. Lack of sleep disrupts metabolism. The body cannibalizes itself. Men return from patrol weighing 10, 15, 20 pounds less than when they departed. Some cannot regain the weight. They are declared medically unfit. Interviews with veteran commanders reveal the same pattern. Fear is manageable. Fear is acute. It spikes during combat, then recedes. Men can function while afraid. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. But exhaustion is different. Exhaustion is chronic. It accumulates. It does not recede. A man can be brave and exhausted simultaneously. Bravery does not compensate for inability to function. One commander describes it. Fear we could manage. Fear is sharp and passes. Exhaustion does not pass. It accumulates. It compounds. A man can be brave and still be too tired to function. I saw men fall asleep during depth charge attacks. Not from calmness. From exhaustion. The body shuts down. It does not ask permission. Another commander. I had sailors who would stand watch, perform their duties perfectly, then collapse when relieved. Literal collapse. They would sleep where they fell. We carried them to bunks. They never woke during the move. That is not discipline. That is beyond exhaustion. The flotilla medical officer finishes his review. He signs the last form and places it in the outgoing basket. Another sailor removed from the roster. Another bunk freed for a replacement. The replacement will be younger, less experienced, less trained. The training pipeline cannot keep pace with losses. Standards drop. Men who would have been rejected in 1940 are accepted in 1944. They will face the same conditions. They will reach the same limits. The cycle continues. The arithmetic is relentless. The war is being lost one exhausted sailor at a time. Mid-Pacific and Atlantic, 6th of April, 1944, Parallel patrols. 2 submarines are at sea. One is German, one is American. The comparison is instructive. The war is global. Different theaters, different enemies, different conditions. But the submarines face similar challenges. Both hunt merchant shipping. Both evade enemy escorts. Both operate far from bases. The outcomes differ dramatically. The reason is not courage. It is not training. It is not tactical skill. The reason is habitability. The German boat, Type 7C, 52 men, 30 bunks. Ratio, 0.58 bunks per man. No air conditioning.
No refrigeration.
Limited fresh water. Evaporators produce minimal quantities. Showers are impossible. Laundry is impossible. Men wash with saltwater soap and alcohol rags. Internal temperature, uncontrolled, typically 28 to 33 degrees Celsius depending on external seawater temperature and machinery operation. Humidity, uncontrolled, typically 85 to 95%. Condensation is constant. Ventilation is minimal. Air quality degrades continuously during submergence. The boat has been submerged 18 hours per day for the past 6 weeks. Surface time is limited to battery charging and brief ventilation. Allied air patrols force continuous submergence during daylight. The crew sleeps in shifts, interrupted frequently. Maintenance is performed continuously. Errors accumulate. The boat remains operational but degraded. Morale is low. Health is poor. Performance is declining. The American boat, Gatto class, 80 men, 77 bunks. Ratio, 0.96 bunks per man. Air conditioning throughout. Every compartment is climate-controlled. Internal temperature, maintained at 22 to 24 degrees Celsius regardless of external conditions. Humidity, controlled, typically 50 to 60%. Condensation is minimal. Refrigeration allows storage of fresh and frozen food for 60-day patrols. Fresh vegetables for 3 weeks. Frozen meat for the duration. Bread is baked daily. Coffee is unlimited. Showers are available, rationed but regular. Every man showers at least once per week. Laundry facilities exist. Men wash clothing regularly. Bedding is changed weekly. Ventilation is continuous. Air quality is maintained. Carbon dioxide is scrubbed. Oxygen is replenished. The air is never as foul as in German boats. Crew sleeps in assigned bunks. The bunks have curtains for privacy. The curtains block light and reduce noise. Sleep quality is better. The boat has been at sea for 8 weeks. Submerged time is tactically determined, not forced by air threat. The Pacific Theater in 1944 still allows some surface running. Air threat is present but less intense than in the Atlantic. The crew is functional. Contacts are pursued aggressively. Attacks are executed precisely. Maintenance is performed on schedule. Error rates remain at baseline levels. Morale is stable. The boat returns to port with high tonnage. The patrol is counted as highly successful. The difference is not courage. German submariners are as brave as American submariners. Both face death. Both continue fighting. The difference is not training. Both navies train their crews thoroughly. Standards are high. The American crew eats well. The German crew eats poorly. The American crew breathes clean air. The German crew breathes foul air. The American crew showers regularly. The German crew never showers. The American crew maintains equipment accurately. The German crew makes errors. The American crew remains alert. The German crew is exhausted. Sleep is a weapon system. The Allies wield it. The Germans do not. 1 bunk per man is not luxury. It is operational capability. Climate control is not comfort. It is performance enhancement. Fresh food is not morale. It is nutrition that sustains cognitive function. Clean air is not convenience. It is oxygen that powers the brain. Showers are not hygiene. They are infection prevention that keeps men on duty. British T-class submarines show similar patterns. Near parity bunking, improved ventilation, fan retrofits, Freshwater capacity for hygiene. The British operate in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. Their patrols are long. Their crews remain functional. Post-war assessments will attribute this to better habitability design. The assessment is correct. Human performance data. Physiological studies. Operational experience. The conclusion is clear and documented. Habitability is operational capability. German BDU staff compare outcomes. They obtain Allied technical data from intelligence sources and post-war exchanges. The data confirms what commanders already know. Allied habitability is better. Allied crew endurance is longer. Allied patrol effectiveness is higher. The correlation is direct. Better rest produces better performance. Better performance produces better results. The mathematics is simple. The implementation is impossible. Germany cannot re-engineer the Type 7. The design is fixed. Production is standardized. Modifying the hull would delay construction. Delays are unacceptable when boats are being lost faster than they are being built. The only hope is the next generation. Type XXI is under development. It will have better habitability, near-parity bunking, improved climate control, better ventilation. The design reflects lessons learned. It will enter service too late. The war will be decided before Type XXI becomes operational. The turning point is not a new torpedo. It is not a new sonar. It is not a new tactic. The turning point is a bed for every man. The Allies understood this. Germany did not. Understanding came too late to matter. Hamburg, 9th of February, 1945. Technical assessment under bomb damage. An Allied technical mission arrives in Hamburg. The city is shattered. Bombing has destroyed 70% of the urban area. The shipyards are rubble. Cranes lie toppled. Dry docks are flooded. Damaged submarine hulls lie in the wreckage, incomplete and irrelevant. The mission inspects a Type 7 pressure hull section preserved in a workshop. They measure compartments. They count bunks. They examine berthing arrangements. They photograph everything. They write reports. The reports are clinical. Emotion is absent. The language is technical. The conclusions are devastating. They note, berthing ratio 0.58. Bunk dimensions insufficient for average crew height. Ventilation inadequate for submerged operations exceeding 12 hours. Temperature control absent. Humidity management absent. Carbon dioxide scrubbing capacity marginal. Fresh water storage minimal. Hygiene facilities inadequate. The conclusion is summary. Habitability substantially below standards maintained by Allied navies. British Naval Intelligence publishes assessments. Confidential books. CB series. Document captured German equipment. The submarine volumes describe Type 7 design in detail. Technical specifications. Operational performance. Design philosophy. The books note the berthing deficiency as a significant factor in reduced German operational effectiveness. The language is neutral, but the implication is clear. Better habitability would have produced better results. The deficiency was not accidental. It was inherent in the design philosophy. Weapons before men. Firepower before endurance. The philosophy failed. German technical officers are debriefed after the war. They are not prisoners. They are technical consultants. The war is over. Enmity fades. Professional curiosity remains. Allied officers want to understand German thinking. They ask about design priorities. The Germans explain. Torpedoes, batteries, fuel, these were non-negotiable. Crew accommodation was considered secondary. The reasoning seemed sound. A boat without weapons cannot fight. A boat without power cannot operate. A boat without fuel cannot reach its patrol area. Crew accommodation can be sacrificed. Men can endure. Endurance has no measurable limit until it is exceeded. They acknowledge that this assumption proved incorrect. Crew endurance did have limits. The limits were reached. Performance degraded. Loss rates increased. Some losses were directly attributable to crew errors caused by exhaustion. More losses were indirectly attributable. slow tactical responses, poor maintenance, reduced vigilance. Each contributed to vulnerability.
Vulnerability invited destruction.
The chain was long but direct. One German engineer states it plainly. We calculated torpedo capacity. We calculated battery endurance. We calculated fuel consumption. We did not calculate human endurance. We assumed it was infinite. It was not. By the time we understood, it was too late to redesign. The statement is recorded. It is filed. It becomes part of the historical record. The lesson is clear. Do not assume human endurance is infinite. Design for human limits. Habitability is not luxury. It is necessity. The statistics are compiled and analyzed. Type 7 boats. 784 commissioned. Losses, 693, or 88.4%. The loss rate is catastrophic. Average patrol duration, 7 to 8 weeks. Crew complaints, heat, crowding, sleeplessness, humidity, inability to maintain hygiene. These complaints appear in every captured diary, every interrogation report, every post-war memoir. The pattern is universal. The complaint is consistent. The boats were too small. The bunks were too few. The patrols were too long. Material failures occurred. Equipment broke. Machinery failed. Torpedoes malfunctioned. Batteries degraded. Hulls cracked. But material failure was not the primary limiter. Crew endurance was. Even if the machinery survived, the fighting efficiency of the crew declined below tactical requirements. A boat that cannot fight effectively is lost, even if it remains afloat. The arithmetic is final. The space claimed by torpedoes and batteries outweighed the space claimed by sleep. The calculation was wrong. The cost was measured in lives. Kiel, May 1945 to Cold War era, from Type XXI to modern boats. A cutaway drawing of Type XXI shows the interior. The design is revolutionary. It includes near-parity berthing. Crew, 57 men. Bunks, 54. Ratio, 0.95. Almost 1-to-1. Nearly every man has his own bunk. The design also includes improved air systems. Ventilation fans circulate air continuously. Carbon dioxide scrubbing capacity is doubled. Oxygen replenishment systems are improved. Internal temperature can be partially controlled. Humidity is managed. The boat is faster submerged than surfaced. Battery capacity allows extended submerged operations without physiological stress. The design reflects lessons learned. Those lessons came too late. Type XXI development began in 1942. Construction began in 1943. The first boat commissioned in mid-1944. Technical problems delayed operational deployment. Training required months. Only one boat, U-2511, completed a patrol before the war ended. The patrol lasted 0 days. The boat surrendered upon receiving the ceasefire order. The war ended before the design could prove itself. But the design was captured. Allied navies studied it intensely. Technical intelligence teams examined every detail. They measured compartments. They tested systems. They interviewed designers and crews. They wrote comprehensive reports. The reports circulated through Western naval establishments. The Soviet Union captured Type XXI boats as war reparations. They studied the design. They copied features. Post-war submarines on both sides incorporated Type XXI innovations. The innovations included habitability. Cold War-era submarines standardized near-parity bunks. American nuclear submarines include air conditioning as standard equipment. Not optional. Not luxury. Standard. Every compartment is climate-controlled. Soviet submarines include improved ventilation. Early Soviet boats were notoriously uncomfortable. Later boats improved. British submarines include controlled humidity systems. Condensation is managed. French submarines follow similar patterns. Every major navy learns the same lesson. Habitability matters. NATO-era standards codify minimum requirements. The standards are written. They are enforced. Crew berthing must approach 1-to-1. Exceptions are rare and must be justified. Ventilation must maintain air quality during extended submergence. Temperature control must maintain comfort within specified ranges. Circadian watch plans must allow adequate sleep. Sleep cycles must not be routinely interrupted. Rest periods must be protected. These standards are based on research, medical research, psychological research, operational research. The research links habitability to performance. The link is documented. It is quantified. It is undeniable. Medical research studies sleep deprivation extensively. The findings are consistent across decades and across nations. Sleep loss degrades cognitive function. Reaction time slows. Decision-making deteriorates. Physical coordination declines. The degradation is cumulative. It is predictable. It follows mathematical curves. Recovery requires time. Operational tempo that denies recovery produces operational failure. The cycle is biological, not psychological. Willpower cannot overcome biology. Discipline cannot compensate for exhaustion. Training cannot substitute for rest. Modern submarine designers treat habitability as a primary requirement. Not an afterthought. Not a luxury to be added if space permits. A requirement. Space is allocated for bunks before space is allocated for weapons. The logic is simple and irrefutable. Weapons are useless if the crew cannot employ them effectively. Effective employment requires alertness. Alertness requires rest. Rest requires bunks. Bunks require space. Space must be designed in from the beginning. Cannot be improvised later. The German Type 7 U-boat was a successful design by many measures. It was maneuverable in combat. It was reliable mechanically. It was effective tactically. It was cheap to produce economically. It sank millions of tons of Allied shipping. It terrorized the Atlantic sea lanes for years. It also killed its own crews through exhaustion. Not all deaths are recorded in casualty lists. Some deaths are recorded in medical files. Some are recorded in degraded performance. Some are recorded in errors that led to losses. The boats killed their crews slowly, invisibly, cumulatively. The boat could dive deep. Technology permitted operations at 200 meters. Some boats exceeded that. The hull could withstand the pressure. The machinery could function at depth. But the human frame set the true depth limit. Not pressure depth. Endurance depth. The depth to which a crew could be pushed before performance collapsed. That depth was reached and exceeded routinely. The boats survived. The crews did not. Not all. Not enough. Wartime German bunk ratios for Type 7 remained far below Allied practice. The ratio was 0.58. The Allies approached 1.0. The difference seems small. 0.42 bunks per man. 42%. But that 42% represented the difference between sleep and exhaustion. Between alertness and error. Between survival and loss. Modern navies treat sleep as a weapon system. They allocate resources accordingly. They design for human needs. They understand what Germany learned too late. Technology could dive deeper. The human frame set the depth limit. What is your perspective on this part of history? Share your thoughts in the comments, because every memory and reflection helps keep the past alive.